The best of money matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, in Singapore, small and medium-sized enterprises with revenues between 1 million Sing dollars and $10 million are often overlooked, despite their vital role in driving the economy. Many of the owners of these businesses have built their companies over decades of hard work, only to see them shut down due to a lack of proper succession planning. Our next guest personally witnessed how the failure of a business can lead to strained relationships and missed opportunities. This experience inspired them to found Edenity, a company dedicated to honoring the legacies of SME owners. So to find out more, joining us today is Eldred Wee, who is the founder and managing director of Edenity. Eldred, welcome to the show.
Pleasure is all mine. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Eldred, what inspired you to start this company, Edenity? And I mean, how does your personal background, especially growing up, influence your decision to focus on, preserving SME legacies?
I think for every business owner, the why is very strong, right? And for me, I think it's very linked to my life goal.
Okay.
So what is my life goal? My life goal is to be the dad I never had. And what does it really mean? I'm proud to say I come from a single parent family.
Okay.
And being the eldest, seeing how businesses can actually destroy our family, I wouldn't want history to repeat itself. So when I actually incorporated my business on my 32nd birthday, there was a lot of emotions going into it.
Okay.
And that's why I kind of actually formed Edenity. So yeah.
I see. And I believe there's a unique story behind the name Edenity, something that is very close to your heart.
Yes, super. So I'm proud to say I can actually name it after my 28-month-old son.
Okay.
So his name is Eden. Extremely naughty. But today we had a very good session to send him to school. He was joyful. We kind of actually looked at a couple of animals as well and touch it, pet it. So yeah, I think a lot of people has been telling me as well, hey Eldred, you seem to be actually using your son for like a marketing tool. But every single time I introduce myself and my company name, every single time I send an email or just send my website, I'm always reminded of him. And I truly believe in work-life integration and not balance. So yeah.
Does your son know that you've named your company on behalf of him?
For sure. So I think for him, I've been always telling him, it's like, hey, your name is Eden and Edenity will change the world. And he has been actually repeating that. So I always tell him, please don't say Papa is going to work, right? Say Papa is going to change the world one step at a time. So yeah.
Oh, that's very nice. Well, Edenity's core and mission is to honor the legacy of SME owners.
Yeah.
How do you define legacy in this context of these businesses? And why do you think it's such a critical aspect to consider when planning for long-term success?
Yeah, I think everybody will have their why in terms of starting their business, but often not, they would actually have three main reasons. First reason is definitely to earn a little bit more money. Right? That's always the case because money makes the world go round. The second one is kind of actually to create an impact that they think makes sense. And with that, creating that impact, what does it all mean? Does it last for only like a year, 2 years, 5 years, or on and on, right? A lot of business owners must be very truthful to themselves. Why do I say that? They might be very good on scaling up a business from 0 to maybe 1 million revenue or 2 million revenue, but they need external funding. They need different partners to actually take it to the next level.
Right.
But a lot of SMEs aren't aware, and sadly, investment bankers are lazy. Lazy because it's too much work for too little money in the SME space, and I hope to actually disrupt that with myself and Edenity. So yeah.
I see. So what are some of the most common challenges that SME owners in Singapore face when it comes to succession planning then?
I think SMEs, right, it's always going to be a lot of things to think about. But I think two main problems is really, number one, having proper visibility of their finances. So having proper accounts, kind of actually budgeting and forecasting ahead. A lot of business owners just focus on like getting sales, getting revenue, right? But they fail to kind of actually realize how much cash flow is coming in. And that's why for me, Edenity as well, we focus on 1 to 5 million revenue accounting firms, whereby they are actually the main impact to the bigger SME groups. So that's one main problem. I think the second one is really more towards having the online presence, because most of the SMEs, they might be doing a couple of million revenue, but they might not even have a website. They are very relationship-based from the older generation. But when you want to actually translate that to the second gen or the third generation, it's very hard. Why? Because business owners gave their actually offspring a very good life.
Right.
Send them to overseas to study. But when they actually come back, they don't want to take over a traditional business, because what does their parents do? Most of the time is relationship building, drinking beer, having a late night talk, They want to actually be more digitalized. And that's one of the biggest struggles for traditional SMEs. So yeah.
Okay. Well, can you share some insights on the emotional and practical hurdles that business owners do encounter when they do try to think about, the future of their businesses?
Yeah. I think, like myself, and it's a little bit ironic, right? Most business owners create their business to have financial freedom and to potentially sell it off or pass it on to the next generation. For Edenity, I don't think it'll be any time I'll be selling off my business. But for most of my clients, they really treat their business like their child. And for that to kind of actually part ways with it, it's very tough.
Right.
They spend so much time, so much effort, and yet they pour into it. And because of that as well, they have an insane idea in their head that the valuation of their company is supposed to be way higher than what is real, right? But industry is industry, right? Willing buyer, willing seller. But to manage the expectation and to align the interests of all parties, whether is it personal or professional, we really have to actually be very transparent and upfront. And I think that's where a lot of education and awareness needs to be spread, especially for the SME owners, because they actually really don't know what is the market going like. And for me, I'm proud to say Edenity just actually closed its first deal 2 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'm very happy to kind of actually share, what are the insights to the latest deal that's happening, what is realistic in terms of the market, and aligning those interests both for the SME owners as well as the investors that are interested in this space. So yeah.
Well, it looks like Edenity primarily focuses on SMEs with revenues between $1 million to $10 million.
That's right.
Why did you choose this specific, segment, and how does your expertise address the unique challenges faced by these businesses?
Yeah, so I think for $1 to $10 million revenue, they are often underserved. And the key thing is as follows, right? Same thing as well. A lot of effort, time, because a lot of education and awareness needs to be spread, but also because it's not so much of a financial engineering anymore, right? I'll be very truthful to myself. Would I be very good in terms of, let's say, handling very complex financial model, creating 1001 scenarios like Doctor Strange? Probably not. But building that relationship with the retiring owners, building the relationship with the investors to really understand what are they looking out for an investment, as well as what are they actually looking out for when they're selling. For some owners, right, one concrete example that I have is he's saying I don't mind selling my company. I would just want to actually have this room dedicated to myself after the sale. I was like, for that particular deal, that room actually cost him close to $2 million. And he was saying it's worth it because there's sentimental value of it. So I think oftentimes it's really more towards understanding and listening more than you can actually speak, which translates to more time and effort. It's where most investment bankers don't do. And for me, my personal passion of helping SMEs that are truly underserved translate into my professional skill set, which is really more towards building relationship. So my tagline has always been connecting people through valued relationship. And I stand by that both personally and professionally. So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that this target group is underserved.
Yeah.
So what are the main barriers that prevent SMEs from, accessing the same opportunities as larger companies? And how does Edenity help bridge that gap?
I think the first and foremost is oftentimes for 1 to 10 million revenue, a single contact and a single partnership, whether is it a soft or a hard one, can change the entire trajectory of the company, right? And that's why I love to play in this space as well, because sometimes I'm shooting myself in the foot as well. Merger and acquisition isn't for everybody. The moment you can actually raise capital, it's no longer your business at all. And yet I have actually facilitated a lot of softer partnerships, and those softer partnerships actually allowed business owners to actually flourish and grow to the next level as well. So I think what is really keeping the SMEs to actually punch above their weight class is one key thing. I would say hesitation to kind of actually follow trends. And what do I mean by that? There are a lot of trends going on right now that is more towards digitalization. AI is definitely a buzzword right now. ESG is definitely a buzzword right now. A lot of times the business owners can't keep up because they're too busy with too many things, right? Day-to-day operation, trying to hunt sales, etc., etc. Only with an advisor like myself and Edenity, we really can actually understand where the company is at this point in time, and we can actually give concrete partnership referrals to them as well, whether it's soft or hard. So yeah, I think that would be the main thing.
Okay. So how do you see the role of M&A, in helping SME owners achieve both sustained growth and a long-lasting legacy for their businesses?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's really got to start planning early. And oftentimes, it's a little bit too late. So just like probably 2 months ago, I received a potential company that's looking to sell. And they are saying like, I need left with 6 months to sell because my lease is up, right? So when I actually did a little bit of a deep dive, it was in the F&B sector. Revenue is good, profit is good, but books were all over the place. No proper accounting, no website at all. And to actually turn it around in 6 months, extremely tough, right? And processes for M&A take time. The deal that actually just closed, it took roughly 6 months, and that is considered very fast in my industry already, right? Oftentimes, it could even take like years. And I have known so many deals that can't actually close even despite working hard on it for years, right? So really getting investor ready means to truly understand and be transparent to yourself and planning ahead both financially, operationally, as well on the illegal aspect as well. Because no investor want to actually buy a company that can't self-run by its own, and the relationship all stays with the business owners, which is always going to be the case for SMEs. So yeah.
So you gave us a little example there, but when it comes to mergers, acquisitions, and succession planning, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see SMEs making?
I think the biggest mistake that SME makes, valuing themselves really too much. I think it really goes back to that point. So they have unrealistic expectations like, my company is worth so much because there is so much brand equity to it. There's so much goodwill. I put in my heart and soul. There's a brand name in there. Everybody knows me. But truth of the matter, from an investor point of view, it's always going to be, if I'm going to put X amount of money, how fast can I actually get back my money, right? So it's going to be just that cash flow portion. And that education and awareness needs to be actually spread from early, or is there a way to kind of actually cash in that brand equity, right? It could be actually running events. It could be actually running a campaign that can actually cash in that equity to ensure revenue goes up. So I think there are a lot of ways whereby a lot of big household names and older generations fail to realize that a rebrand could make sense for them to kind of actually take it up to the next level. So yeah.
I mean, every business is unique, right? So how does Edenity then go about tailoring its M&A strategies to suit the specific needs and goals of each SME?
Yeah, I think for that, it's going to be tough. Why? There's no one-size-fits-all, right? There isn't. So I think for Edenity, what we can actually do is we can actually shift our pivot as well. So instead of 1 to 10 million revenue, we can actually zone down to 1 to 5 million revenue. And we can actually only look at 2 industries right now. So first industry is where I spend 85-90% of my time is outsource accounting and tax corp-sec firms, whereby they can actually do the accounts for the SMEs as well. So I think with that, if they are doing the books for others, their books internally should be better, right? So I think that's where I can actually focus at. The second industry that I spend a little bit of time with is media and events, which I think is a big pity because they have the most amount of impact, but it doesn't actually translate into cash and profit. So for this 2 industry, it'll be a little bit different. So one industry would be really more towards education and awareness to make sure that the branding is there so that they can actually get a higher valuation. But the other industry whereby they already have the brand value, right? How do we kind of actually activate it to result in more revenue and more profits? So yeah.
Well, then how do you measure the success of the strategies that you implement for your clients, and what does sustained growth look like for an SME?
Yeah. So I think sustained growth, it's most from accounting principle as well, right? Companies are supposed to be on an ongoing concern, right? So they're supposed to last forever. But truth of the matter is one bad decision can actually just destroy the entire family, which was what happened to my dad, right? So I think what different strategies that Edenity can actually advise our clients is to kind of actually share what are the industry insights that we actually see, right? When we can actually look at, let's say, for example, the accounting and tax industry, there are actually 2 main drivers to kind of actually increase profitability. Number 1, sadly, is to actually use more technology and AI, which because the industry is extremely traditional. But the second one actually is interesting, right? It's to actually outsource to neighboring countries as well. So I think a lot of traditional SMEs within a range of, let's say, not even 1 to 5, probably 1 to 2 million revenue, they know the strategy, but they don't have the access to the network to implement those strategies. And that's where Edenity, despite not making money from introductions, because we only actually earn our fees through merger and acquisition, we still can actually make a lot of soft introduction, which benefited a lot of companies. And I think that will probably actually help more companies in the future, because it's always going to be a long-term game and a relationship game. So yeah.
Right. Well, as your child says, you're going to save the world and change the world. So what are some of the most impactful stories that you've seen at Edenity? And is there an example where a business truly thrived as a result from you?
I think because for Edenity-wise, we are only probably we just turned 11-month-old yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. So I think it's a little bit too short to kind of actually tell that. But I do see a lot of companies, and even for myself as well, right? In the short span of 11 months, I have grown so much and evolved so much, either through my network, either through my branding on LinkedIn, which I'm relatively active on as well. So I think overall, the strategies that I actually seen my clients or potential clients do and execute is really to have that food for thought, right? When they are kind of actually thinking of making their first purchase of a company, right? Because it's going to be a medium fish buys, it's a small fish, right? They will kind of actually think, okay, would I actually want to buy a company that is, let's say, higher in terms of pricing to the client? Should I actually look at a company that is very similar to mine? Or should I actually fill in a gap, right? Whereby my company can't actually do that, but I want to fill that gap. It's a little bit like playing like basketball and creating a basketball team, right? Do you actually hire for talent? Do you kind of actually hire to actually fit a gap? And what's the overall strategy? But the key thing is really more towards educating those owners in the first place, right? To let them know that, hey, this is actually possible, and this is what the big boys are doing right now. This is something that you can do right now. This is something that you could think about and probably execute it in the next 6 months, but prep yourself for that. So I think that those are the various ways that we can actually look at it. And oftentimes I get back the feedback. It's like, hey, Eldred, thank you so much. That was so insightful. And I'm pretty sure a lot of investment bankers will not actually step down to kind of actually give all this sharing. And yeah.
I see. Well, looking ahead as well, it definitely sounds like you're making a footprint already and leaving a legacy while also saving other SMEs' legacy here. But what are your goals for Edenity, and how do you envision the future of SMEs in Singapore to look like?
Lovely. So I'll give a little bit of stats as well. All right. I think for SMEs, right, we are 70% of the entire workforce, if I'm not mistaken, as well as close to 50% of GDP of Singapore. So I think for SMEs as well, we are really, really going to be like a minority trying to actually punch above our weight class. And for Edenity, I think what we really want to do is really to disrupt the market and kind of actually focus on an industry whereby most investment bankers don't play. So for Edenity-wise, I am actually looking at multiple deals on the table and ideally kind of actually executing more and more. But the impact that we actually have is going to be way greater. Just because accounting and tax firms, corporate secretarial firms, they actually are the network to the broader SMEs as well. Same thing with media and events as well. So I think where I can actually see Edenity, ideal world speaking, is to run a very lean and mean team. It doesn't need to be like a 50-man team. It could be as small as, let's say, a 5-man team. But with true integration of AI, can actually be laser focused in terms of our ideal customer profile, can actually handhold off the small SMEs to really let them understand and spending that time and effort. So I think for me, I am also looking at launching my own podcast to kind of actually spread the education and awareness a little bit better, and also to create more recurring events so that traditional business owners sometimes don't listen to podcasts, right? But if you tell them, hey, come for an event, and that's where we probably actually share with you. So I think it's the various approach that we are actually doing, and we are very hands-on, right? It's not something like very theory-based and that we don't do. So I truly believe in the real biggest theory of mine, which is act fast, fail fast, right? And you can't actually just like mix what makes sense. Because I think for SMEs, we need to be very relatively nimble, and we can't actually afford to put in our heart and soul into something and then see the results later on, right? You just have to just execute it, right? Just do, don't think. So yeah.
Yeah, take that first step. Well, thank you so much, Eldred, for joining me today.
No, pleasure's all mine.
Thank you. That was Eldred Wee, who is the founder and managing director of Edenity. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.